Nishmas Etta Ahuva Bas Yaakov Masechah Shevuos Perek Vav Mishna Aleph. Shevuos Hadayanim, which is one of the three Shevuos Hadaraisos. It's Shevuos Moide B'Miksas, and this Perek deals with the Shevuos of Moide B'Miksas. The last Perek deals with the second type of Shevuos Daraisa, which is Shevuos HaShoimrim, and then there is a third Shevuos Daraisa called a Shevuos Eid Echad. So again, this Perek deals with Shevuos Moide B'Miksas. The Gemara says that when you make a shvua, they used to make it dumya to the shvua of Avram, the Atvasei Eliezer bebris Mila, and that means that you have to be nokat chayfetz, which the Gemara comes out is l'chatchila should be with a Sefer Torah. Rashi brings that in Adar it was the Rishonim were batul shvua daraisa fisha ansha gadol because the einish is so strong. V'tiknu ligzar alav arer. And instead, they do not use a shvua anymore. The Gemara also says a machlekes whether shvua is b'shem or b'kinu. So, l'negei shvuas moed b'miksas, the Mishnah says hataina shtei kesef v'hoida shava pruta. The tvia has to be shtei kesef, and the hoida has to be on a shava pruta. Less than that, it wouldn't be a shvuas moed b'miksas. The Rav says that there would still be a shvua derabanan, a shvuas heses. There's machlekes Rav and Shmuel. Rav says that the kfira has to be a kfira of shtei kesef, and Shmuel says no, just the taina has to be shtei kesef. The kfira could be only on a pruta. Either the kfira could be a pruta, the idah could be a pruta. It doesn't make a difference how much the kfira has to be. But Rav, which the Rav Bar Tanura brings down over here, it holds the shita that the kfira itself has to be shtei kesef, and he learns it out from the psukim because it says ki yitin ish reyeyu kesef oikelem, and we don't find a smaller kesef than a ma, and we learn out from kelem ma kelem shnayim af kesef shnayim, so we learn out that it's two ma, which is shtei kesef. Vim ein haida mimin hataina. Potter. The Mishnah continues that you also need the Haida Mimin HaTaina. Shevuos Moed B'Miksas is learned out from the pasuk of Ki Hu Zeh, and the Gemara says Ksiv Hu V'Ksiv Zeh. One thing tells me Moed B'Miksas HaTaina, and one tells me that you need it to be Mimin HaTaina. As the Mishnah explains, Keitzad Shtei Kesef Li Biyadcha Ein Lach Biyadi Ela Pruta Potter. If he's Teveya 2 Ma'a Kesef and he's Moeda and a Pruta, so there are two ways how to learn this. According to Shmuel, the Gemara is saying that when he says a tvia of shtei kesef, he means dafka and not shava, and therefore, since he has a tvia of kesef and the haida is on the chaysha, so it's not mimin taina. If the taina would have been on a matbeya, so then pruta is part of the matbeya, but he meant dafka kesef, and therefore a haida and a chayshes is not considered mimin hataina. Rav, and that's how the Rav Bar Tanur explains this over here. But Rav actually learns this part of the Mishnah as a continuation of his shita before, that the taina had to be, besides the taina being shtei kesef, the kfir itself had to be on shtei kesef. And over here, the problem was that that would mean that the taina was on shtei kesef and a pruta, and over here the taina was only on shtei kesef, so you can't have a kfira of shtei kesef, and that's why you're put over here. And the Taisus Yantav is very marich why in the beginning of the Mishnah, the Bar Tanur explains it according to Rav, and over here in this point in the Mishnah he explains it according to Shmuel. And the Rikiveger brings down that which they say that the taina has to be shtei kesef would not apply to Kalim, because Kalim is a davar chashav, and therefore you would not need to have shtei kesef. The Mishnah continues weiter, manali biyadcha, einlach biyadi, and he's kaifer bakol, so then you're pater from a shvua, because ein adam meiz b'fnei bal chayiv to deny it legamri, and if he's denying legamri, then we believe him midaraisa. The Gemara says, Amar Rav Nachman mashbiyan oisei shvuas heses. He still has to make a shvuas heses. My time a chazaka ein adam teveya elim kein yesh lo yalav, because keneged his chazaka that ein adam meyes part of nebal chayva, the teveya also has a chazaka that a person wouldn't be teveya unless it's his. Manali biyadcha ein biyad el chamishim dinar. That's the spitz case in Moedim Miksas. Then he's chayiv. Mishnah ends off, Manala Abba biyadcha ein biyadi el chamishim dinar let's say he's not being teveya on behalf of himself, rather a ben is being teveya on behalf of his father, and the Rav over here brings down from the Gemaras that it's only talking about a tviya of Shema. So therefore, since there's no real tviya over here, the fact that I'm saying that, chamishim dinar is like as if I'm returning an Aveda to you, Mneshu Kamesha Aveda, and therefore you would not have to make a Shevuos Moedim Mikzas. The Taisus Yantav asked another interesting question, and in all the other prakim we said it's Neheges Ba'anoshim Ubenashim, and this parak it doesn't say it. So he says, because this Shevuos had the Yana Taisus really asked the question, but the Taisus Yantav's teretz says that it's Bechal Shevuos HaPikadam from the last parak. Mishna Beis, Manali Biyadcha Amalei B'fnei Edim Hein, he agreed in front of Edim that he owes the money. L'macha Amalei Tinali, but then when the second day that the Tevei approaches him, he says, Nesatavlach, I already paid you back. So then, Pater, he doesn't have to make a Shvuah D'Oraisa, he would still need a Shvuas Hesed, like every Kaifer Bakol. But if he says, Ein Lach Biyadi, since yesterday he said, he agreed B'fnei Edim that he owes the money, and now he's saying, Loi Hayu Dvar Me'olam, Ein Lach Biyadi means it never happened at all, so now he's a Huchse Kafran, and therefore he's going to be Chayiv to pay. Manali Biyadcha Amalei Hein, let's say he's Tevei him and he agrees again, and now here the Teveya says, Al Taneli Ela Be'edim, I only want you to pay me back in front of Edim. L'machar Amaloi Tanali Nesatavlach. The next day when he approaches him, he says, I already gave it back to you. So now Yechayiv Neshatzarach Litnam Loi Be'edim, because since he said, I want you to pay Be'edim, so therefore he has to pay Be'edim, because the Gemara says, even though Hamalva is Chaver Be'edim, there's two different shittas in the Gemara, but the second sheet is Hamalvas Chaver Be'edim Einay Tzarech L'Far Be'edim, but Im Amar Al Tifrieni Ela Be'edim. But if he says specifically, don't pay me back Ela Be'edim, like in this Mishnah, then Tzarech L'Far Be'edim, then you do have to pay Be'edim. Shmuel in the Gemara argues and says he's able to tell that he paid Bifnei Edim, and they went to Medinas Hayam, and the Gemara discusses whether you have a kasha from our Mishnah.